everyone. Welcome to Axis Cinema Appreciation with me, John, and David, aka Shamrock Balls. This is a spin-off of the Let's Talk Movies podcast that David and I do, and I'm actually going to kick it over to my co-host right here to explain everything that this show is going to be.
Thanks, John. First of all, this is just a branch off of the Let's Talk Movies podcast. So like a subdivision, so to speak. We're still talking movies, of course, but this is more to do with our appreciation of movies. So when we talk about appreciation, it could be a movie, it could be a movie franchise, it could be a director, it could be a movie score or a composer. So basically what we want to do is just rather than be so Neil Macaulay and rigid in our Let's Talk Movie podcast, where we kind of break the movie down and we go through pre-production and stuff like that. We just want to sit down and have a yarn about something in cinema that we love, and be positive about it, and show our appreciation for it. Kind of, John, what we were doing when we first initially started the podcast, when we didn't really know what the hell we were doing, other than talking about a movie, and we bounced about all over the place and we talked about different subjects, but we wanted to keep this more linear. We do just want to talk about the movie, the people involved in the movie, and be a wee bit more kind of relaxed about it. And it's fine if we just bounce about and just have a bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're looking to do here. Is just have a good time, sit back, and just talk about something we love. One thing that I completely forgot is that we want to explain actually the name of our show. Where did the name Axis come from? Well, David, why don't you explain that? Because this is something that we were having a hard time with. I'm not good at naming anything, guys. So David David really was the one who figured this out.
well, it was a collaborative effort, to be honest.
It was. We were bouncing off each other.
Yes, we were. Basically, when we decided to do the Let's Talk Movie podcast once a month, because it does take a lot of time and effort and work when you're in between working all week and running a household and family and things like that. So I had suggested to John, look, why would you like to do that maybe once a month? It gives us a bit more time to do research, to record, and for John to edit, and do a shorter show just about our appreciation of cinema, about different subjects. It doesn't just have to be about a movie. It could be about somebody involved in the movie industry. I says, well, look, with plenty of time, I'll come up with a name. This was a few months ago. Well, plenty of time. Next thing we know, it's the new year, and I'm messaging John and saying, I haven't thought of a new name. Can we try and think of something? And we wanted something out there that meant that we appreciated cinema, but at the same time, what we had discussed, we want a name also, because we like something like cinema appreciation is very bland, and we wanted something that was kind of like in relation to a movie that we love. That I had mentioned before when we first started doing reviews, we should have called it Axis Reviews. Maybe I said it as a joke, but I totally forgot that. Yeah. And you then said to me, oh, well, what about, Axis Reviews or something? And I'd kind of, that's brilliant. And I said, the only thing is we're not reviewing movies. So then we merged the two, and we're calling it Axis, and we're calling it Cinema Appreciation. And of course, Axis comes from Axis Chemical in one of our favorite movies, Batman. And when I looked into what Axis actually means in movie making, because it does mean something, the gist of it is it's the axis of action, also known as the 180-degree line or rule. It's an imaginary line that defines the spatial relationship between characters or objects in a scene. And obviously, there's a whole big technical spiel about axis in movie making and the axis of action. But basically, as well, it also covers the intentional violation of the rules can be used for dramatic effect, such as conveying disorientation or shifting power dynamics between characters. So we thought, that's perfect. It's aligned with our favorite movie, and it actually means something in filmmaking.
Yep. So just like everything came together, and that's like the perfect name. And again, it was like a name we were kicking around years ago. So it's a full circle moment for us here on the original Let's Talk Movies podcast. Now back to Axis Cinema Appreciation.
Yeah. So in relation to The Godfather, John, yes, this is my favorite of the trilogy. It always has been my favorite of the trilogy. As you say, it is without a doubt for me one of the greatest American movies, you want to call it, or movies just in general of all time.
Yeah, only reason I said that is because there's a bunch of lists. Like there's the Sight and Sound list that always kind of will, that includes like always international film, and then there's the they do the American Film Institute list that comes out every like 10 years, I believe. And that
Hmm.
usually like that only includes American films, and that's usually like up at the
Right.
top. Whereas if you include like the full list of movies, I think it's kind of in the middle because there's
Mhm.
been a lot of great international films if you just take out like American made ones.
Yeah, listen, they do these top, 10 lists or best movies of all time. And, I've seen Citizen Kane #1 year. Vertigo was #1.
I
It's
think
always
right now Vertigo is number one. I think
it's
that's on
still,
top of them.
it's still #1. It's creeping up. But, Godfather Part 2, it's always in the round there. It's up in the round there. Even when Empire Magazine do their top 100 movies of all time, top movies to see before you die. Godfather 2 is up there. And to be honest with you, I don't really want to turn this into like, which is best, because we
No.
love both movies.
Yeah.
And maybe one day, well, I'm sure we will one day do Godfather Part 2 as well.
Yeah, 100%. We both do love it, but they're both epic films. It's not fair to like, even though it is the continuation of the story of The Godfather, The Godfather Part 2 deserves its own appreciation. We're here to talk
Yes.
about the original one, which yes, is also my favorite. I like the original one more than the second one, but it's like talking about your kids. Like if like it's a Sophie's choice kind of situation. It's like I don't want both of them to die. I need them both, but if I had a favorite, I'm not going to tell anyone. It's The Godfather.
Yeah, it's the first one for me, John, personally, because I feel as if it's its own self-contained story. It's got a start and a middle and an end. The thing about it is that the story, when you think about it, I watched it again the other night on 4K, by the way, first time in a few years. One thing about it is that essentially it's about the story of the most powerful Don in America coming to the end of his reign, and his son picking up the reins and how he comes to power. And that's basically what the story is. It's got this mob war in the middle. I love all the mob war stuff. Not only that, another reason why I like it, I like it more than the second, is the cast. I feel the cast in the original is a hell of a lot stronger than the cast in the sequel.
Well, yes, they replace actors that unfortunately we don't have that either pass away or don't come back, which is kind of strange for certain actors. And they try and replace them with new actors, and it's just never the same. It's the same with any kind of sequel. I've noticed throughout my entire life, I always usually like the original more.
Mhm.
Some sequels are great, but the thing also with me with the second one is I do think it kind of breaks up the pacing a little bit going back in time. I mean, I love it that we go back in time, but there's times where I'm so invested in the story that we're in, then when they cut, I'm like, I kind of wish we would have just stayed where we are.
Yeah, well, thing about the second one, that it's kind of like it's a mirror of the first, where you're seeing the rays of the old Dawn, and you're seeing almost the downward spiral of the new Dawn. But in relation to the original, I mean, you have actors like Marlon Brando in the movie. You have James Caan in the movie
Yeah.
as well. Two guys that aren't in the second movie, who, in my opinion, are my two favorite characters in the movie. I know you're talking about Clemenza. Of course,
Yeah.
when we get to part
I
two,
love
obviously
Clemenza.
we can talk about that. But yes, we have a great character. I mean, Frankie Five Angels is brilliant too.
No,
But
he is, but Clemenza's got a certain charm to him. Like when he's just like making the sauce, like that's
yes,
that's irreplaceable to me.
yeah, and even Tessio to a certain extent.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like, everyone. What's his name towards the end too? Who's shows up in Look Who's Talking, which I saw before, like the Godfather. Believe it or not, he plays the grandfather in that, and he's like, you know, tell Michael it wasn't personal. I always liked him. Like that guy is freaking like
Right. Is that Tessio?
that's Tessia, right?
That's Tessio. Yeah, he's like,
Yeah. And he
tell
said,
Michael, well, can you get me off the hook?
one last time.
Hey, Tom, can you get me off the hook? Yeah, he's like a big puppy dog.
Yeah, he's got it. You feel bad for him, but you know what I love about him, like in that scene, is that he takes it like a man. Like he's not like kicking or screaming. He
Yeah,
gets it,
yeah.
and I like that. That's how you're supposed to go out. Like if you get caught, it's like, all right.
Yeah, he knows what's coming for him, and he asks Snape politely, "Can you get me off the hook for old time's sake?" And
Mhm.
and it's just he's chancing it, but it's not going to happen. And and
Can't
that's
do
the
it,
thing.
Sally.
Yeah, can't do it, Sal. Okay, I'll go and get the concrete. So more like fucking Columbo there. But no, because these guys are old school. They're the old guard. They know the crack. I mean, I don't know if you ever listened to Michael Francis,
I
and
know of him, but I've not listened to too much.
Well, I listen to his podcasts. I like all that mafia and mob stuff. I listen to a lot of that stuff, Sammy the Bull and things like that. But he basically says himself about the rules. He says, once once you take that oath, you know what you're signing up for. And that's what he says. He says, you get caught, you get caught. He says, we never held anything against the FBI for stopping us because that was their jobs. He says, we just had to be a wee bit better
Yeah.
because we were crooks.
That's why it's called organized crime. It's because it's like there's almost a respect to it. Like, you're playing a game. Like, who's gonna outsmart the other? That's why there's so many,
Yeah.
like, like the way they just nonchalantly talk about, he's got the politicians, he's got the judges. Like, like, those are important pieces to have, is to have these guys be crooked in your pocket. Like, it's just a business end to them.
Yeah, and the thing about Tessio, funny enough, just talking about Tessio at the end, the Godfather tells Mike, he says to him, or Vito tells Michael, he says, the one that comes to you to make the meeting, to make the deal, is the traitor within your own family. And when Tessio comes in the graveyard and says, Mike, can I have a word? Who was the
who was the other one he expected? I can't remember that.
No, but the family, there was Barzini and there was Tattaglia. I think it was Barzini. Barzini was behind it all along. He says, Barzini wants to have a meeting with you. And then Tom Hagen says to Mike, he says, you know how they're going to come at you? So he already knows himself. And he's like, I always thought it would have been Clemenza. And he says, no, Tessio was the smart one. It's the smart move, So yeah, talk about Tessio, old guard. He's smarter than Clemenza.
Yeah. And it's a shame. And it's like, it's sad, like, to see him like do it, but like, you also understand the motivation. It's just like, it's almost like he's sad about it too, which is crazy. It's like, I got to do it. Like, Carlo's an idiot the whole time. He never sees it coming, but Sally gets it.
Yeah, but I love all that when the power does transfer over to Michael and the Don's still alive and he's not what he used to be. And I don't know how much of that is Vito play acting, pretending that he's doting to fool everybody.
I don't know. I feel like he's not the same after, when he goes to the hospital after he gets shot.
Yeah, he's not the same. But the whole thing is that he kind of like, when they're in the office and you have Clemenza and you have Tessio and they're sitting and they're going, they're taking our pads. Let us just build our ranks and we'll strike back. And they're like, nope, don't be doing it. We'll strike when the time's right, type of thing, or we're dealing with it. They think that even they're thinking the Corleones are finished. So that's why Tessio ends up siding with the Barzini family, because he's thinking, especially when the Don, he probably was waiting on Vito to die, because he didn't want to move against Vito while he was alive.
Yeah, exactly. And he didn't. And, the way that they set up the Michael arc in the very beginning is you wouldn't expect him to do what he does at the end of this movie, to be that, as another character would say, that hard-hearted, you wouldn't expect that from him. Yeah, ruthless, like, to do what he did. Like, it's like everything. The fact that he's doing it while he's becoming the godfather to his, nephew, like, that's crazy.
Well, the thing is, John, as I say, they set up Michael as that character, don't know, to start. Doesn't want nothing to do with the family business. That's his whole arc. His whole arc is that he is probably archetyped the best Don, but he's the one that Vito didn't want to be involved with the family business.
He was too smart.
Well, my favorite scene in the whole movie is when Michael and Vito are in the garden and he's drinking the red wine. And he tells Michael, I never wanted this for you.
That's heartbreaking.
I never wanted this for you.
Yeah, he was like, I was thinking, Senator Corleone, Governor Corleone. He wanted somebody in the family that get power through legitimate means.
Yeah, and you can just see that even like when we get to the end of the Godfather Part 2, like how they're all like disappointed. It's like, but who probably wasn't, we don't get to see it, was his father for doing what he did. Like, it's like, because that's the first step in becoming the person that he thought he would become, was, doing this. And you can see how he, at the very beginning, how he still cares about his son so much. He won't take a picture without him. Like, it doesn't matter. These wedding pictures are useless without him here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's having that meeting at the start. And what an excellent opening, John. Just I believe in America. That whole story that the Undertaker tells at the start of the movie, and setting that whole scene up, and Vito basically like him whispering in his ear, and you later find out, he says, you asked me to do murder, but your daughter's still alive. So that's the type of justice. It's an eye for an eye. It's a beating for a beating. He's not going to go and murder people because they beat his daughter up. I don't know. Does he have scruples? Does there morals there?
but that's always kind of the big difference between, Don Vito and when Mike comes in is that, he doesn't believe in overstepping. It's like, well, this is what they did. We'll match their energy essentially. That's what I'm not going to kill them just because of this. Like, unfortunately, like, yes, justice wasn't served, but I'll serve it the justice that we do it. There's a certain code to it.
Yeah, because he does say, give this job to, I think he says Clemenza, and he says, I want reliable people. He says people that aren't going to go too far.
Yeah, he's like, despite what this Undertaker thinks.
We're not murderers.
We're not murderers. Did you see like this is always I feel like the big line that I saw spoofed in like cartoons when I was growing up before I even saw the movie. Like, you come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding to ask for a favor. Like, did you see that when you were growing up before you saw the movie or like scenes from The Godfather? I mean, maybe that's the generational thing because like I grew up like Rugrats and Doug and like they would like take scenes right from the movie and then when you watch the movie you're like, oh yeah, like I knew everything like all the big stuff from The Godfather before I got to The Godfather.
No, I can't really remember that it did, John. I mean, I always knew I'll make an offer you can't refuse. You know what I mean? Which
you can't refuse.
Yeah, and I remember that being said, but I don't remember specifically anything else. I don't remember sitting down and watching The Godfather and going,
okay.
I seen that in that movie. That's where this is from. No, the first time I ever watched The Godfather, I remember I was about 17, 18 years of age, and it was on TV one night, and my mum and dad were watching it with my brother, and they said, do you want to watch this movie with us? And I went, okay, and I was underwhelmed.
Really?
I just didn't think much of it. Thought, I'm sorry, that movie, you know what I mean? But it's one of the, and it was really funny. I then went, one of those situations, John, where when I started buying my own VHSs, that this is how stupid I'm going to sound. I didn't realize, because I was so used to the format of, say, the Jaws movies, where Jaws 2 is just like it's alone movie, right? Or even Terminator 2 to a certain extent. You don't have to see Terminator 1 to understand Terminator 2.
No.
Right? So I bought The Godfather Part 2 because everybody told me that was the better one. And I watched it and couldn't make head nor tail of it. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? So it wasn't until later years, maybe in my 20s, I went back. It came out, I think it's when it came out in DVD. The DVDs I showed you, I bought the trilogy and watched them again and thought they were absolutely fantastic. Now that I was a wee bit older and watched it from the start and watched them right through. So
that's a key element that a lot of people don't realize too, is that these are very mature adult films. Like one Best Picture, like made the most money, but that's because the adults were going to see these movies. So if you watch a movie too young, that's how I was. Like I'm always embarrassed about it. It's like it's a comedy, it's completely unrelated. But like when I saw This Is Spinal Tap for the first time, I was like 9 years old. I thought I was like, everyone says this is the funniest movie of all time. I said, I don't think this is funny at all. Fast forward to when I'm in my 20s, it's fucking hysterical. It's just like you got to see a movie at the right time.
Yeah, and that was the thing with me with The Godfather, because then I just feel as if I love this movie more and more the older I get. And the whole thing is that when you grow out of that age of superheroes and monsters and aliens and all that business, it's all just total fantasy and it's entertainment. And Jaws will always be my favorite movie because it is a character story at heart. However, even though this is a fictional story and people will say it's romanticized, which I don't really think it is, but it's about human beings. It's about family. And that is what Coppola made. Coppola said he wasn't making a gangster movie. He was making a movie about family, about the family that he knew. He could relate to an Italian family. He was Italian. And I think Irish families and Italian families are very, very closely linked. We're Roman Catholic countries as well. We have big families. We believe a lot in loyalty. We don't like people who rat or tout, as we say. We don't like that.
Nope.
Yeah, and so I think Irish people can very much relate to the Italian family side of The Godfather. The whole scene at the end with the christening and everything else. I mean, I'm so familiar with that. What the priest is actually saying to Michael, do you reject the devil? Do you reject, and I've been to many christenings and heard that said. And that goes back to what I wanted to say about, you brought it up earlier there about Mike, how Vito is proud of Mike and he's expecting him at the wedding. He wants him there. And you can tell that when Mike comes to his bed in the hospital, how happy he is to see him there, and how sorrowful he is when he finds out that Mike killed Salazzo and the actual
the police lieutenant?
police captain. Is it captain? Is it?
Yeah, you're right. He's the captain, right?
Yeah.
Which I believe is just under chief, if I'm correct in my NYPD rankings.
Okay. Yeah, he's the top dog, isn't he?
He's a big shot, but he still has to let people know where he is, and that's unfortunately his undoing.
and of course, as I say, so Coppola said he was basically like making a documentary, of Italian life with a gangster backdrop, and there is an awful lot of melodrama in this. All comes from the book. Again, that is something that everybody can relate to. That I think a lot of people can relate to that. And just talking about that scene with the police captain and Salazzo, I mean, that has to be one of the best scenes. If not, people might say it is the best scene in the movie. What do you think?
I was like, I kind of felt like cheesy saying it because that's probably what people would say, but that's my favorite scene in the movie. Like basically from the time Michael gets picked up and everything they're doing in the car, the entire conversation. First of all, Salazzo, perfect face.
You think too much of me, kid. I'm not that clever.
For like a guy like that, like he's just got that big bottom jaw, like he looks like a cartoon almost, but like it's like that's like the guy you believe would have the kind of balls on him that he has, like to believe he could just step into this game and control the whole thing. He's like so arrogant. I'm like perfect face for it. Same thing with the police captain, like he's great as well. Like just shows like money can cure everything. From I'm sorry about that. It's all just business,
Yeah, he has an arrogance about him. They both have an arrogance about him because, as they discuss, you can't take out a New York City police captain.
No, who says you can't, Michael?
And it makes it. Who says it? Who says you can't? There always reminds me of Scarface, where he says you can't shoot a cop, and he says whoever says you was one. Yeah. So and because he's like they say in the movie, this police captain, what's his name again? It's played by Sterling Hayden.
I know. I always forget. It's something mix, right?
He's obviously Irish. His character's supposed to be Irish background. Isn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
McCluskey.
About this McCluskey fella.
Yeah, McCluskey. But he says, McCluskey is now his personal bodyguard. So they've got this arrogance about them. They can go to this restaurant. They underestimate Michael. He's not gonna do a thing. We can negotiate a deal here to get Sonny to call the 100 button men on the street, John.
Yeah, because they all kind of have this like preconceived opinions about everyone in the Corleone family. About Sonny's the hothead. Then you got Fredo, who's like he's the bumbling idiot. I love Fredo though. Who doesn't love Fredo?
Yeah.
His movie's really the second one. He's kind of like a background player in this one. Then Michael's like kind of known as like the nice, level-headed one. He's not gonna he doesn't want to do this anyway. He's gonna be the calm one. He can like get to Sonny. So we'll talk to him. We trust him that he's not gonna be the one to pop off. Little did they know.
I don't know. Mike, you do not come to Las Vegas and talk to a guy like Mo Green like that.
Mike, you don't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that.
I love that also plays just back right from the time with Sonny early in the movie. You never speak up against the family like that. And it's just like Mike got that message too. And he wasn't even in that meeting with Sonny.
Yeah. Well, this is everything that Vito is teaching down to them. I know we're going to bounce about it. I don't want to bounce about too much.
I love that line.
No, I was like, I need to get that line in later on. I just love that line. And see the way he's dressed and all.
With the sunglasses. What is it? What did Mo Green say about him? He's banging 2 cocktail waitresses at a time.
I love that scene, but I think this might be the first time you see Al Pacino, that kind of mean streak in Al Pacino's character in this movie. The way he turns around and he says like,
"Oh yeah,"
he says, "Is that why you slapped my brother about?" And he goes, "He was banging cocktail waitresses 2 at a time, or something. They couldn't get a drink, or something. The customers couldn't get a drink. They get a drink." And he's like, you just see him like his patience start to breathe, and he's like, "Is that why you slapped my brother?" He's like,
Pacino, like it's just crazy with Pacino, seeing him play Michael in this to like. Think about like you brought up Neil McCauley already, but like playing when he plays in Heat, like that's the same actor. It's unbelievable. Given I know it's 20 years, but still it's just incredible to go from that to that.
Well, true story here, John. So I'd seen Godfather, whatever it was, movies, and I hadn't seen Scarface till I was like in my late 20s. I was working with a couple of fellas, and they were talking about gangster movies, and they said, "You seen Scarface?" Me, no. You haven't seen Scarface? No, I haven't seen it. I'll lend you. All right. So I got to lend the Scarface and DVD and sat down and watched it one Saturday afternoon or something and was blown away by it. Instantly loved it. But Al Pacino in that movie made me realize how great an actor he was. Not because of Scarface, but because of The Godfather. I went back then and appreciated his performance, especially Godfather 2, but I appreciated his performance in Godfather 1 and 2 because he so underplays it. It's so subtle. And I love that.
It's so reserved. He never plays that really again. Never. I mean, even in like Dog Day Afternoon, like there's a certain 70s quality to him, and then he's not really around too much in the 80s when you really think about it. He does Scarface, which is another full 180, but then when he shows back up in the 90s, it's a different actor. But it just proves to you like the range of the actor, and he wasn't appreciated for his both performances. Never won Best Actor. And I mean, I know that was like a real sore subject, and they made it up to him. And I don't know how you feel about Scent of a Woman or whatever the fuck. I'm not a big fan.
Well, I haven't seen Scent of a Woman, but just you saying there about you never seen that again. He's not even the same actor in Godfather Part 3.
No, well, I don't think I don't know. I mean, his voice obviously changed. Maybe it's from smoking and drinking, but like, yeah, even his personality as far as playing Michael Corleone, given, you could argue people change. Like, so
people
like,
change over time.
Yeah.
And I forgive him for that because do you know why, John? That's the whole movie is about his regrets.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be that guy no more.
But you killed your brother, man, and I can't overlook that.
the guy at the end of Part 2 isn't the guy we see at the start of Part 1. Do you know what I'm saying?
No.
So then the guy we see in 3 isn't the guy we see at the end of Part 2.
I mean, and you could argue, like, don't a lot of us, like, especially even in like the worst of the worst, like if you reach that part of your life towards the end of your life, do you look back and regret? I'm sure you do. And like, and I do appreciate the film for showing that, because that probably is the more human thing to do in this aspect, is you look back and you're like, yeah, I did that to my own family. Like, I can't believe I was that hard-hearted,
Yeah. But we can get to that one day. We will get to that. So yeah, so he takes out these two guys in there. He's the one that nobody thinks that he's going to do it. But that whole scene where Clemenza as well, John, is kind of when he
teaches him about the gun.
Well, he devises the plan, and that's when Thing says, what do you call him, Sonny? He's probably my favorite character in the whole first movie.
James Caan,
without a doubt, and the way he says to him, they all laugh at him.
Yeah,
and he says, oh, what are you? This isn't the war. You got to get up close. You know what I mean? You don't want to get blood all over your AV League suit and all this. And he's taking the mickey out of him. But then they see he's serious.
Yeah, because at first they don't think he's serious, but then once they do see that he's serious, then they start, okay. Well, if you really want to do it, they don't think that he's serious, but they think he's just acting out of anger for what happened with their father. Like the other one, Clemenza and Sonny are like, they're used to this. They've done this.
Yeah, well, you're right. They think he's angry about what happened to Vito in the hospital, but also because he's got a broken jaw.
Yeah, I always thought it was more Vito than the jaw. I always kind of thought, like, kind of how the captain thinks, like, that's just business. Like, I really actually don't think he should have took that personally.
Yeah. And but Sonny says that to him. What, you want to take out a police captain because he slapped you in the jaw?
Yeah,
it's just simple as jaws like that.
I mean, I'd be upset too, but I don't know. I'd be more upset about Vito in the hospital thing and the way that they're kind of like taking advantage of him. I feel like they really are being arrogant. Like they kind of almost are rooting for them to get their comeuppance, because it's like they really do think they're untouchable, the two of them.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is he goes to the hospital and like he sees that the guards have been taken off, so he knows the police are in on it, and I think that's what really annoyed him. I mean, he knows fine maybe that there's a gang war that's started here. One bad guys against other bad guys, but the good guys who are supposed to be in the middle, even though his father had him in his pocket, they're being called off so they can just basically assassinate his father. And I think and that's what he says outside the hospital. How much are they paying you? And the police officer doesn't, McCluskey doesn't like that because he knows, he knows, I know, I'm getting paid off here.
Yeah.
And that's why he punches him. Stand up straight.
Yep. It's to send a message like, this is my power. I can do this. And, they all know that he's overstepping here a little bit. Like all those other guys, like, come on, man, he's a war hero.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, that goes into the scene I was going to talk about there about Clemenza. And I like that where he says to them, we were all proud of you, Mick, especially your father, because I don't think at that stage Michael Corleone realizes that. I think he feels like a bit of an outcast.
Yeah, he does. I always, because again, it's hard not to think about part two, like at the end of like how he kind of felt like an outcast from joining them and not like doing what everybody else like expected him to do. So I think he always felt like because he joined the Marines, he was different from the rest of them. And like Clemenza wants to make sure like he knows, like, it might have been like a ball, like a kind of like out of pocket, kind of like out of context move for you and like for anyone in our family to do it. But we were proud of you for doing that, man.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so that's great. But I mean, what do you think about the whole kind of shift in the movie when he goes to Sicily?
The first time I saw that, I had a hard time with it, but I think it's the most important part of the entire movie because that's where the dark side, like, you might point to like the whole thing that happened with killing, killing the cop, killing the captain, and killing Salazio and everything. That might be the turning point, like where he's turned to the dark side almost. I think
Yeah.
it's right here when Apollonia dies. When she dies,
Mm.
I think that's when he becomes the cold-hearted son of a bitch that he ends up becoming, because that was his true love. Like Kay is a contingency plan for him. He only goes back to Kay when he needs her, not because she needs him. She loves him, but I don't think he ever truly loves Kay. He loved Apollonia. So when she dies, like that's the whole end of him, like, his compassionate side, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, and it does feel as if the whole movie kind of shifts for a while when you go to Sicily and stuff like that. It's all bright and it's sunny, and the music and all is a wee bit more glorious. And it's,
That's the what's it called? The dramatic stuff you were talking about. Like it's the love story.
Well, it's called the love theme from Godfather, so it is, yeah. And it's just weird how there's some things in this movie, John. I'm not going to criticize it, but there's some weird things going on. How people just kind of jump to their tune and it kind of like and timeline stuff. Just kind of like how's this working out here? But he's basically just sees this girl, she sees him, and then he goes and asks when he goes looking for her, and then they find the father, and he says, "Well, I would like to meet you. I respect you," and all of a sudden she just falls for him, and then they're married.
Doesn't she seem a little? I don't mean this in a mean way. Doesn't she seem a little dim-witted or a little airheady? I mean, I get that there's a little bit of a language barrier there, but she just seems like a little bit aloof, like, compared to like Kay, who seems very intelligent and very like,
Yeah.
she always kind of points out like the truth in situations to Michael, like, or she's asking questions to understand as well, like exactly like in his mindset. Like it feels like he's got all the power in this relationship.
Is it because she goes a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday?
That and the driving, like oh, you promised you was gonna drive today. I said, come on.
I thought you were actually gonna say, do you not think she seems a little young?
Well, she that would explain the intelligence.
yeah. I'm not sure what age that girl was when they made the movie, but I see what you're saying. I think it's just more a cultural thing. I would put it down to, here's this suave, educated American, and here's this girl from a wee small town in Sicily. And this is what, the 1940s, the late 1940s. Well, Tom Hagen says at one stage in the movie, it's almost 1946. And I got thinking about that when I was watching this movie. It was almost 2026, so 80 years ago this movie took place. And is that right, 80? Can I count?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Is 80? Fuck, has it been that long, Marty?
It's unbelievable, the life, like, from people from the 1940s. I watched this movie, like, HUD, the other day, which I don't know if you've ever seen it, recommend it, but, like, it's about 3 generations of people, and the young generation would be people who were born in, like, 1942 to, like, 1946. Like, that's the up-and-coming generation. I'm like, those people are dying off now. Like, that's fucking crazy how quick time goes.
Well, John, if this film came out in 1972, this movie was closer to 46 than we are to 72 now.
Yeah, that was less than 30 years in the past. Like, it's crazy. Like, this is a period piece, but it feels like a 70s film. That's like, they get the 1940s look, but it still feels like a 70s film. But you're right. It's like, it's over 50 years ago now. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a fair point. I never thought about it like that. He finds out that Sonny's been killed, and then Apollonia's blew up. So he thinks it's his duty to go back and try and iron all this out to make sure it doesn't happen again, because he probably thinks they're never going to stop until we're all gone, we're all dead. And which brings me to Sonny's death scene.
Oh my god, brutal. And I don't know if you ever saw the interview with James Caan, and he talked about how in that's the guy putting the squibs on him told him that was the most amount of squibs they've ever put on somebody. It's like, and he's like, that's supposed to reassure me, like, because those are painful.
Well, I heard the ones back then, yes, were. There's different ones now, I think.
Yeah, it's not like it
back
used to be,
then,
but those used to literally blow up.
I think I had to put like pad underneath because you had to put them a specific way so they blew out and then blew in because it
Yep.
could bruise you or break a rib or yeah.
Yeah.
But everything that sets that up, John.
Oh, the whole thing with Carlo and
the
we didn't even talk about Talia Shire yet. Who's a favorite of yours, I assume, being the big Rocky fan.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can rewind and go back to the wedding. So the wedding at the start of the movie is Talia Shire is the Corleone daughter, Meg, and Sonny and Fredo's sister, and she's marrying
Carlo.
Carlo, who's Sonny's friend.
Yep.
Yeah,
which should have been the first tip off, Sonny. You know yourself a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, and that whole wedding, I love watching it again the other night, John. I just love how they set up the whole movie in that scene. I never realized it before until I started watching.
They set up everything, and they try and redo that and the Godfather Part 2 because
and 3.
Part 3, yeah, Part 3,
And
but Part 2 they have a
Yeah.
whole extended sequence to start the movie at a party. It's not a wedding, but it's a christening.
It's a confirmation.
Confirmation.
Or a communion, one or the other. It's a communion or a confirmation.
One of the one. I don't know how old Michael Jr. is. Is he like 6? Is he like 7, or is he like? I think he's younger, so it's probably a communion.
Yeah, it's communion. So,
but it's a long extended party sequence. They even do the same song, like but they can't do it right. They do "Pop Goes the Weasel" instead because they don't understand that Italian tradition. The mom jumps on stage in this one though.
Yeah, but the whole thing is as we mentioned earlier on. So it's his daughter's wedding day, so he has to take, and Tom Hagen explains that he can't refuse a favor on his daughter's wedding day. So he's got all these people lining up to see him, and of course you've got Luca Brasi.
Love it. May your first grandchild be a masculine child.
That is so funny when he's in talking to him. And he's like, that's all I have to say.
I know, but he can't remember that. He practiced for so long. I love that you hear the paper crinkling because he had to pull it out and read it. and Don DeVito's just like, thank you.
He's nearly laughing. He's nearly laughing. He's like, thank you, my good friend, my favorite friend.
Well, he literally died for him, so you got to give him that attention.
Yeah, and I love how through the whole movie, even when Salazzo says when he pulls Tom Hagen in, and he says to Tom Hagen about the Godfather's dead. He's like, your boss is dead. Now I want you to go and make the deal. And even Tom Hagen's gone, okay, I'll do what I can, but nothing I say is going to call off Luca Brasi.
He doesn't even know yet.
He does know, but he's like, we'll deal with Luca, and he's already dead. But the thing is, later on, when they don't know where he is, Sonny's kind of like, where's Luca? And somebody says, maybe he's flipped, and he says, if he flips, we're all in deep trouble. I think everybody's like, Luca is coming after us. But you know what I love about that whole party scene as well, John, at the start, the wedding scene, is when Johnny Fontaine shows up.
Oh, that's be a man. You can be a man.
You can act like a man. What's the matter with you?
I love that line, but how all the women are all screaming. And,
oh my God, it's a pop star at the time.
Oh yeah, well he is supposed to be Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's literally he's supposed to be the biggest star in the world, like that time, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's who he's supposed to be. And there's rumors that Frank Sinatra had ties to the mob.
Yeah, well, that was always a big time rumor that then still go to this day.
Yeah, and I love that as well. Like you say, when he's in saying, "Oh, Godfather, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?" And he's like, "You can start by being a man." Is this what a big shot does in Hollywood? He cries.
What can I do? What can I do?
And I love that because you see Tom sitting there and he starts laughing.
I love Tom. Robert Duvall, I don't want to forget about him because as Tom Hagen, he's so good in this movie.
Yeah. They all are.
They all are. I know. I can't shower enough praise. Even going from this wedding scene to the next scene. I know we got to get back to because I want to make sure we talk about Sonny's death. But going to
I'm building up to.
Okay, but going to the film producer and the studio head and going through everything there. That guy, he's overacting his ass off, but he's great as well. Everything he says is so quotable. He's insulting him. If any more guineas want to come out of the woodwork, well, he's like, actually, I'm German Irish. Well, excuse me, my Mick Kraut friend. If any of you wants to intimidate me, they know where to find me.
Love it. He's like, I know every lawyer in New York. I've never heard of you. And he's like, I have one client, one specialized client. And then later on, he's like, "Oh, why didn't you tell me you worked for Corleone, Tom?"
Yeah, now he wants to kiss ass, but he still loses his, like, he still blows his top. That's how much he hates. Like, he's trying to stay calm because he knows now, but he can't. He hates Johnny Fontaine that much. Johnny Fontaine and his olive oil voice.
And then Johnny Fontaine comes along with his olive oil voice and guinea charm.
And I'll tell you something else, and I'm being candid. She was the best piece of ass I ever had. Tom's just sitting trying to finish his dinner, and he can't. He's just sick and bad. He puts a knife and fork in and goes, "Can you give me a car to bring me to the airport?"
He's just
Mr.
so
Corleone.
mad.
Yeah, he's like, Mr. Corleone is a guy who insists on hearing bad news as soon as possible.
And that leads to another, like, really iconic scene is when he finds the horse head in his bed. You know, he sent him a message, and he got that message.
But how much did he say he paid for that horse? $6,000?
$600,000.
Jesus Christ. 1945, maybe even earlier.
Oh, I mean, he's got the money. They make sure to, like, when they show his house is beautiful. In the 1940s, beautiful. Always reminds me of Chinatown, that shot, because it's LA and, like, you know, in that era.
That house, is that Scarface's house?
You would think, right? It kind
I've
of
seen it. It's in other movies. I can't think what it is, John.
Paramount probably owns the house, if I had to guess, if they shot it like that. But it's a gorgeous looking house. I mean, so this guy's got money. I mean, even his sheets, when they're like, I'm like, this guy's got fucking, like, beautiful silk sheets.
Was it Wirtz Pictures or something?
Wirtz.
Wirtz.
Jack Wirtz, right? Or
Jack Wirtz, yeah. So he's supposed to be like this, isn't it, Drees, like head of a movie studio, big shot, you know, back in the day.
He's the studio head, so he controls everything. So he knows that Johnny Fontaine is perfect for this picture, but he'll never get it because he ruined it. Like you said, the perfect piece of ass. The best piece of ass I ever had.
And I've had him all over the world.
He made me look ridiculous, and a man like me can't be made to look ridiculous.
I love when he sees him put at the studio before Tom leaves. He says, "By the way, I like your pictures very much."
Yeah.
That's what leaves.
Tom Hagen is like that, and that's why I don't understand why Mike did what he did to him. I always, because, you know, they kind of backpedal on it, but it's like Mike is like, Tom is just so level-headed, and he never raises his voice, never speaks out of term, does whatever's asked of him. He's perfect. I don't understand why Mike, like, I know, I get it. You're not a wartime consigliere, but still, yeah, I think he is.
But I think that was all part of the play.
Yeah, it definitely is, but it's just like, but Tom wasn't in on it, and it's weird that it's just, why can't you trust him? I feel like he's the most trustworthy guy.
Well, I feel as if by that stage, and we'll get back to where we were going, but I feel as if that stage of the movie, it's like the only two people that know what's going on is Mike and Vito.
True, but but like that, but Tom was Vito's right hand guy.
Yeah, but well, this is right. So first of all, Jack, the producer, Wirtz, right? And we're certain there was like a deleted scene where he's like, I don't know if we can say it. You can edit it out. He's a pedophile.
Oh, he's a pedophile. Okay, I could see that.
Yes.
That makes sense because I'm sure the girl was young, and I'm sure he was abusing them to get the power. Like, you know, like literally, he said we invested everything in her. You know, singing lessons, acting lessons, like
dancing lessons,
everything. Like, you know, and Benny's banging him. Like, I could see that.
Yes. Which was probably happening in Hollywood then as well. Anyway, but the reason I'm saying that is that I don't know if they ever filmed anything to do with that, but there's a scene which is deleted from the movie where Vito's I can never say that. Consigliere was a guy called Janko Olive Oil.
Yeah,
Janko Olive Oil. He was his friend. He's in the second movie, but within this movie, there's a scene where Vito visits him. He dies, and Sonny says that. Sonny says that to Tom. He says, "That got Janko. Look what I got. He got a wartime consigliere." Yep. You know what I mean? So he wasn't really, because at the start at the wedding, Meg says to Kay, "I think Tom's gonna be consigliere," and she says, "What's that?" And he's like, "Like an advisor." So he's not officially consigliere yet, but all that at the end, mate, that's a play to me, because they have Carlo in the office hearing everything, and when they ask at the wedding, about where when Vito says at the well, sorry, Tom asks, what about Carlo? He's part of the family now. We'll have to give him something, and he goes, never.
Yeah, you know what? That they never trusted Carlo from the beginning. Vito never trusted Carlo, so
No,
you're right. They would never talk about that. And anytime that Carlo brings up business that they like,
no.
they never want him
So
involved. And you shouldn't, because obviously look at what he is. He's a piece of shit.
listen, Mike says at the end before they kill Carlo, you think that wee farce was gonna outsmart a Corleone? So
But what bothers me about that line is it did. It did. It outsmarted Sonny. That's why he's dead.
no, well, it didn't outsmart him to the point where the fact that he was a hothead, and so okay, fair enough. You could say outsmarted. He went off the handle. They knew he would do that, so that's why he beat her up to put the call in. But the thing about that is that I feel as if it's like, well, there's information being leaked here. So somebody's been leaking information here, right? So bring everybody in, and tell them what they need to hear, but don't tell them the real plan. And maybe they didn't trust Tom at that stage. Maybe it was a case of, and that line from the second movie, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. That's why Carlo's sitting in there, because they suspect him and they're just waiting for their moment. They suspect and they just need the evidence.
Yeah, and the mafia, like that's one thing about them, and again, they're smart. Is that they have great poker faces. Like they had Carlo never changed anything until the very end, until they actually killed him. They had him believing he was getting on a plane to Vegas, and like it was, this is all in the past. I'm not gonna, make my sister a widow. Like, they got to play that all the way until they kill you. Like, same thing with Paulie. Like, they know they're going to kill him, but they play along with him all the way through.
And the thing about that is, John, as I say, they were building up to Sonny's death, is that so Carlo seems to be bitter that he's not involved in the family. I think he feels as if when he been married here, he was going to. And then it didn't happen. Sonny's talking at the table about family business, and then
I think it was the mother who said that, like, he never talked about business at the table.
No, it wasn't. I can't remember her name. It was Talia Shur's character. What do you call her? What do you call
Connie?
her daughter? Connie says it, and then Carlo tells her to shut up, and then that's when he says, "Don't you tell my sister to shut up?" And the mother steps in and says, "Don't get involved." And then Carlos suggests something about the family business, and he says, "What did my sister tell you? We don't talk about it at the table." In other words, none of your fucking business. You know what I mean? But I remember when I read the book, John said it's been many years since I've read the book. I want to read it again. It's been many years, but I'm near certain in the tradition, basically, as it's like in The Sopranos, where remember when Christopher hit Adriana, and then Richie Aprile got out of prison. And he says to Christopher, I heard you put hands on my niece. And he's like, you ever do it again, you'll have me to deal with, unless you put a ring on her finger. So apparently in their tradition, if you're married to the woman, then no one's allowed to get involved.
Well, I was gonna say that as somebody who's an Italian American, my family, my mom's side of the family comes from like Italy and everything like that. And this movie takes place on Long Island in Long Beach, which is pretty funny.
Staten Island as well.
Yeah, like it's all just right around like in this general area. So like this is like my family kind of things. And when the mother says like don't get involved, there's been times in many family functions where like husband and wife and like whether my aunt and uncle or like even my mother and father, like if they're fighting, it's like nobody gets involved because that's their business. Like they're married to each other. Let them, because if you, God forbid, you do get involved and then they make up, now you're an asshole.
Yeah. That's what I read in the book. Even with this powerful mafia Don family, you don't get involved. And so he seems pretty bitter about that. He starts taking his anger out on Connie. And of course,
Talia Shire throwing that fit, throwing the plates around. I'm like, she's destroying her own house.
Hey, Bafangu, huh?
And he's like, go ahead, just break everything.
Yeah, you spoiled guinea brat. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word, but it's in the movie.
You're quoting Carlo. He's a piece of shit. That's not you saying that.
He is a piece of shit. And the thing is, by this stage of the movie, he's kind of flipped. He's went to Brazzini or the Talias, and he's just basically went, listen, you know what? I'll give you his information, or whatever, maybe, or I'll give you him, because he gives him a beating in the street. And I love that. Oh,
that's hysterical.
See?
He beats the shit out of him in front of everybody.
Yeah. So he's binding. So Sonny's binding Connie's friend, or one of her best friends, because she's bridesmaid at the wedding.
I know. That's another great scene.
Like, his wife's there, and you see her, and it's in the book as well, about apparently Sonny has a big piece.
Oh.
So she turns, she's telling her friends and is going like that, turns, and he's not there, and he's in the bathroom with the bridesmaid.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. James Caan does seem like the kind of guy that would have it, and so does
Yeah.
Sonny.
Yeah, so Sonny's actually, so he's coming back from that, and he sees him, and I remember hearing a story where James Caan asked the art department or whatever it was, look, can you just give me a stick? They're like, what for? It's not on the, nobody they have a sheet. They usually have a sheet that tells you everything they need for the scene they're filming that day. They're like, there's no prop on there for a stick. He said, don't care, give me a stick. So I went, all right, but so they give him a stick. So when you notice him get out of the car, when they see Carlo on the street, he throws the fucking stick at him. That wasn't scripted.
I didn't know that. That's hysterical.
Yeah, he's going, come on, come here. Yeah. But I love that when he's kind of like, when he get corners him and he starts beating the crap out of him, and like, it just never ends. He lifts the bin, he hits him over the head with it,
the lid and everything.
The lid, but he kind of like, he baits his hand. I love when he baits his hand. No, he's holding on the railings. He baits his hand.
Yeah, that just shows how furious he is.
Yeah, and he's like, you touch my sister again, I'll kill you. But then, as I say, yeah, that leads up to then the fake call, which irritates Connie. He knows she'll get annoyed. I'll give her a beating. He'll try and rush over here, and then they'll take him out. And yes, what a scene, mate! Another amazing scene of when he's taken out at the pay toll booth.
Oh my god, that's so brutal. And like the setup is so awful, man. Like, like he doesn't understand why it's going so slow, and then the guy drops the quarter, and then they pop up. Away, and I mean they wanted to make sure.
Oh yeah, they were sending a message, and I love that. Just see that shot, just of the all elements bouncing out of the old 40s car with all the Tommy guns and the hats.
It looks
and all
beautiful, like the
when
old.
you think about gangster movies, that's what you think of.
The Tommy guns and everything, that old car, and I mean pinstripe suits, exactly, because that's exactly what they are. They're old gangsters. It's just we never got real like intimate with the characters, so I gave them like personalities like this.
Well, do you know the funny thing is, you just saying that, but I was watching this again the other night when I was watching that scene. I love how whether this is intentional or it was just me after a couple of Baileys, but every hitman involved in that scene, to me, has no distinguishable features. They're all faceless. The faces. But there's no distinguishable features. He has all the fedoras tilted down. It's almost like you can't make out who they are other than the outfit and the guns. I just thought it has to be intentional.
Oh yeah, I because like they're supposed to be faceless killers. The only person we're supposed to care about in that scene is Sonny. We just know that he's dying.
I always think the guy on the other end of the toll who drops the coin and ducks behind, like he's obviously in on it. He's obviously one of the gangsters. But the shot through that old wooden hut, like I'm sure he was killed.
I know. I hope he's laying flat on the ground. I assume he is. I assume when he went down, he went flat, and that's probably what threw off James Caan too, with the car in front of him. And then he's like, "It's too late."
Oh, it's too late. I mean, like, it's like the Godfather says. He says it's not. He says to Tom, he says, "It's not that you were a bad consigliere." He's like, it's just that Sonny was a bad don. God rest his soul, because he should never have flew off the hook like that and went out those gates.
He never could be.
Yeah,
I really believe out of the brothers, only Michael really could be the Don. Sonny.
Oh yeah,
this was inevitable for Sonny. I'm sorry, and that's why they make sure to show how he reacted to Carlo the first time. It's because no matter what, he loses his shit.
Yeah. Well, the start of the film when they're having the meeting with Sollozzo, and then he turns around and he says, "You're telling us that the Italians are going to guarantee our safety," and he's like, and he scalds him in front of Sollozzo. That sealed Vito's fate, because Sollozzo said Sonny was hot for the deal. So he thought, if I kill him, Sonny will make the deal. But Sonny's such a hothead, he tried to kill his father. So he didn't. He went to war instead. But he still thought he could make the deal. When he had Tom Hagen, he says, Sonny will make the deal. He was hot for the deal, wasn't he?
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's all he really wanted. It was all business for Sollozzo, but he just felt like he could do it no matter what. He was going to get what he wanted. He needed the politicians and the judges. I mean, in your opinion, though, what we know about drugs now and with the mafia, Sonny was kind of right because it is inevitable that you get involved with drugs. Like, wouldn't it have been just easier just to get in bed with him and this all could have been avoided?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out that before we go, focus in my head, the killing of Sonny, I just love that kick they give him at the end.
Oh my God, I know. Why?
Just to add insult to injury, they give him a kick in the face. But well, as I say, when I was listening to that fella Michael Francese's podcast times, John, where he talks about even up to when he was involved in the 70s and 80s, it was strictly forbidden. I think was he Gambino crime family? It was strictly forbidden to deal drugs, and he says, and that came from the top. And he says, that's not to say there wasn't individuals that done it. He says, but it came straight from the top. You didn't do it. And he was talking there, it was the anniversary of Paul Castellano's murder, 1986, 40 years ago, 16th of December, outside Sparks Steakhouse in New York. And he was talking about that. And he basically said the reason that happened was because John Gotti's crew was dealing drugs, and Paul Castellano found out about it and was going to execute them. And they thought, well, we're going to have to take him out first. So, you're right. It probably was inevitable, but they did, according to him, that was a rule.
Oh, all right. And that kind of adds up to with Goodfellas too. Once they found out Henry Hill was dealing drugs, that's a big problem for them. So I don't know how long they held on, or if only certain crews would deal drugs and other ones had standards that they wouldn't, because like Vito says, it's a dirty game, drugs.
Yeah, well, look, I love how they've got their moral compass.
Yeah, prostitution and gambling, no problem.
Yeah, well, the whole thing there is that so Sonny's killed, and I love that scene when they show the house, and it's Tom Hagen on his own, and it's the first time that Don's probably got out of bed since he's came back from the hospital, and he knows something's wrong. I love that scene. There's nobody in the house no more. They always showed you people about the house. I was wondering, are they all the guards outside? Isn't that anybody in? But Tom's sitting by himself, and the Don comes down and says, if hear cars coming and going from the house, tell your Don what's happened. And he says, I love that. And he says, they shot Sonny on the freeway. And he's and he goes to see the body, gets his favor back from the Undertaker. Look what they've done to my boy, which is now became a meme.
Yeah, I think that's what made that famous. But yeah, it's true. They massacred him, so that his mother couldn't have an open casket.
Yep. That's that was sending a message, and then that leads us on to that magnificent scene, John, where he calls the heads of the 5 families and they sit down and they discuss the business. And he's like, "Well, there's going to be no retribution. There's going to be no comeback from my side. I've lost a son, Bruno D'Italia. I don't know if that was what the Don's name was, but Bruno D'Italia was taken out. That was his son, and they discussed about the drugs, but I think he quickly realizes that they're kind of all in on it, because one of them beside him says, "I agree. I don't like dealing drugs. However, if we have to, keep it away from schools and as if there's some kind of moral compass here, like you said. Deal of drugs. Or sorry, we do prostitution and we do gambling. And liquor, but
we stay away from drugs. We draw a line somewhere."
Yeah, we're just giving the people what they want, but Vito realizes very quickly that he's not going to win this one at the boardroom, and he's going to have to bide his time. And I love how he says about my other son, Michael, I have to plan to get him home now. And I love that speech he gives about, if he's accidentally shot by, I think he says like a stray bullet or something, if he's accidentally dies in his police cell or is struck by lightning, he says, I'm going to blame some people in this room.
I mean, that's what made him such a good at his job, is that he was able to settle this. I mean, and I also really like that, Clemenza kind of lays it out, how it needs to happen. We need to go to war so that we can settle all our differences. And it almost feels like we saw that. They did go to war. And now here he is, the big shot comes in, settles everything, and we're able to move on from it.
But the thing is
For
that
now.
well, that's the whole thing that I don't understand. I wanted to ask you is that, well, he's agreed then to sell drugs. So he kind of lost. He's agreed. He's like, well, we're going to do it, but we're going to put rules around it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're selling drugs, because you see them in the car afterwards. Tom Hagen says, "Do you want people with clean records or middlemen? What do you want to do?" and he's explaining in the car, and and that's when he says about until now, he says, I didn't realize it was Banzini.
Yeah, Bazzini.
No, sorry,
Bonzini.
Banzini,
Parisi.
Banzini. Anyway, and he said, and Tom thinks he's losing his mind. He says, "You mean Tattaglia?" And he goes, "Tattaglia's a pimp. He could never have out muscled Sonny." So he
Yeah.
realizes he was the one all along. But I don't understand, why did they have to wait till the Don is dead before they move against him?
Because this is not what the Don would do. This is showing that Michael is always willing to go further than what the Don would do. This is not how the Don played games. This is not how, like, he wanted to settle things. He wanted to compromise, almost like how politics should be. Like, he wanted to compromise, where Michael saw, like, no, we're going to do it my way. And that's me. I'm going to eliminate all of my competition. And that's essentially what he does. Even Mo Green, like just everyone gets blown away. And the way he does it, like, it's in the most, you would not see it coming, like and that's what makes that scene. And that's, I love the scene in the middle, but that ending, the way that that's all set up and the way it's edited together with the christening is so beautifully done. Like, it is one of the best scenes in film history.
Yeah, no, it's great. I just kind of went, why the wait till he's dead? I thought that him and Vito set this plan up together.
Well, it's like in the
that's why I
told too. Also, like with Fredo, like you couldn't move against Fredo until the mother died. So, like, there's certain.
But that's different.
You think? Like, you don't think that's
100% is. That's his mother's son.
Yeah, I mean, I get that there's certain lines, but do you think that there was like certain respect for Vito that we wouldn't do this when he's alive because he wouldn't do it this way?
Yeah. Well, you may have a point there that the reason they did it because Vito said, we've made a deal and you honor your deal while I'm alive. Maybe. It almost felt but him and Vito were plotting this while he was still alive.
Maybe, but I just don't think that Vito would do something that, like, he wouldn't lie to people. Like, and that's what we see in, like, The Godfather Part 2 is that, like, he has a code. He does certain things for people, and, like, I don't think he's gonna go back on his word. He doesn't seem like that kind of person. Whereas Michael, we can clearly see he'll lie right at the end of the movie. He lies right to Kay's face. That's the kind of person he is now. He wouldn't have done that at the beginning of the movie, but he has no problem lying at the end.
Yeah, I know. I maybe just need to watch it closely again and just kind of look at it, because the thing about it is that that scene in the garden, Vito says, "No, right." So we'll go over it again, and he's like, "Don't worry, I can handle it. I can handle it. I can do it. Don't worry about me. You know what I mean? I can deal with this." And he's the one that tells him about the one that comes with the deal is going to be the assassin. Or sorry, is going to be that's where you'll be assassinated, and that's the one who's going to betray you. Now that could be separate from Michael's plan to take everybody out. That could be separate. That could be just Vito saying, "Do you know when I die that they're going to try and take you out?" So take out the traitor. But maybe he's saying, if they do come and try and take you out, then take all them out, because they have broke the agreement they've made with the Corleones. Maybe that's why he moved after he died.
That's also very possible. Like, it could be just like he was like, maybe I think it's more likely what you're talking about. Like, he was looking for the person that was going to come at him, but Michael took it a step further and was like, I'll just get them all before they can even possibly get me.
Yeah, before they can get me.
Which is like we were just talking about earlier. Like you were talking about, like, that's kind of how it works. It's like a game of chess. It's like, I got to get them before they get me. And that's just kind of always been the way of the mob. And like, it's business, but that's such a power move to get everybody timed out at that, like where they're going to be at those exact moments, to go in there and get them during the entire christening.
Yeah. And I just say as I say, because we'll talk about the second one some other time, but the thing with the second one for me is completely different with Fredo, because listen, there's a lot of people who say he should never have killed his brother. That's the whole thing in the third one about his regret over killing his brother. He says that in himself, I killed my father's son. I killed my mother's son. He could never have killed him when his mother was still alive, because his mother would have been, to watch his mother go through that would have been completely and utterly hard. Yeah, it's still her son. And, people will say he shouldn't have done it after she died anyway. But the point being is that he's not going to do it while she's still alive, because to watch her go through losing a son and she was gone, he could do it.
Well, that's the thing with Michael. He lied too. Like, he made Fredo believe like he forgave him, because, I mean, we'll get in The Godfather Part 2, but like, you can even see in this movie, like, Fredo's innocent. He's an idiot. Like, he means well. He just doesn't know much. Like, he he's kind of lost. He's like a puppy.
I always remember my dad talking about it, saying that was wrong that he killed his brother, and that and I asked my dad, well, what should he have done? And he says he should have just told him to clear off and not come back again.
That's what I would have done. That's exactly what I would have done. I've been like, listen, like he kind of does say that. Like, I don't want you to. I want to know where you are. I don't want you to be around. I want to know that you're leaving before I come in. Kind of like how he's like. That's how it would be. It's like, if you're gonna be around, I want to make sure that I'm not there, or or just like get the fuck out of here. I could have. You'd like literally set me up to die. I don't want you around. My family could have died.
It's not even that either. I don't know. We'll definitely do a saga one sometime. But the thing is that it's like when that hit happened, he claims he didn't know the hit was coming at the start of the movie, which is fair enough. But he knew who done it, and he could have went to make at the very beginning and went, "I fucked up."
Mike probably would have been a little more forgiving then, right?
He would have, because he would have went, "He's a fucking idiot." But look, we know who's after us. We know the play. We know who the players are, and we'll try and they can make their move. But instead, they went through all that in the movie, and he only found out by accident. So he felt as if Fredo was holding information or more aligned with them than with him, and he couldn't get his head around that. He couldn't get his head around that betrayal.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I know why Fredo does it. It's because he's embarrassed and he doesn't want to get caught. He doesn't want to. He wants to try and get away with it, like a child, because that's what he is. He wants to try and get away with it, but he can't. And then he gets caught being stupid because he says something that he shouldn't have said because he gets himself caught.
Yeah, he just want, like he says in the movie. My favorite scene in the second movie. I wanted to carve out something for myself. I get stabbed over. I'm your older brother. And he feels less of a person for that. He want to feel bigger. And by the time Michael was trusting him, that's when he caught him, because he told him to bring the money, and he brought the money, and he was starting to invite him in a wee bit closer to his circle, because there was very few people he could trust by then. And then he realizes one of the ones he should be able to trust 100% was the one that was unintentionally set him up, because they knew the other side knew he was an idiot as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, everyone knows the Fredo. I mean, literally, they're like, I'm sure everyone asked the question, why'd they jump Fredo? Like, no one ever brings up Fredo. Like, they went from Sonny to Michael. What about Fredo? And then they probably get in a room with him. I get it. That's why.
I gave it when the Dawn is getting shot at the start of the movie. Up his gun,
He's
and
fumbling
around with the gun. You know what I mean? And yeah, he's just And of course, Paulie, has had his cold. That's how he was watching this movie. Like, who drove the Dawn Days office that morning if Paulie phoned in sick? Would he not realize there was no driver? There was no bodyguard?
Fredo, I think, was driving him around, right? And then Fredo's probably no bodyguard.
But the Dawn comes out and he goes, he says, I'll go get the car, Pop. And you see him going, huh? And he's like, Paulie phoned in sick this morning. And he's like, I don't mind getting the car.
He's a good kid.
I'm like, well, what? Well, how did he get there in the morning? Then did he realize Paulie wasn't there that morning?
Yeah, that's a good point. How did he?
There was a few things when I was watching this again. Like, as another thing, the wedding at the start. I assume they get married in a church. But where's Mike?
That's true. Some people do just show up to the reception, and he's wearing his Marine. Yeah, he was wearing the Marines uniform. I assume he just came from wherever the hell he was stationed, and. I saw this in another movie, about how hard it was to travel, like, through flight back then during this era. So, I'm sure it wasn't like how it is now. Like, oh, I'll be there like this time. Maybe he got caught up and, because he was coming from somewhere long distance.
Yeah, possibly that's what it is. He couldn't make it to the church to get to the reception, because he wasn't part of the wedding party.
Yeah. What makes me cringe in the beginning is how he brings Kay in the picture. Like, I'm like, no, I'm looking around. I'm like, is anyone else's wives in the picture? And like, it's weird that he would bring his girlfriend. And like, who's not even like who they just met.
But I looked again and I went, where's the other wives? I actually did. I rewinded back the other night. Where's the other wives? And I went, there's Sonny's wife. And then you can see Tom's wife standing beside him, but you can barely, because of the way he set the stage.
Oh, so you can't see
there is a woman there. Yeah. And their kids and all are in the photos, because Sonny's got he's got a baby, doesn't he? But he's got twin girls, and I'm not sure if there's other kids in the picture. I can't remember. And I think Fredo's on his own.
Yeah, wow.
I love how Fredo comes over, but he's already half steaming.
Oh yeah, he's gone already, and he's just like asking questions. And Kay knows too, but he's just so innocent. Of course, he would be like a bubbly, lovable drunk.
Yeah. And that whole like exposition about, Luca Brasi and Johnny Fontaine. I mean, would you tell your girlfriend that at the wedding? Would you not wait? Maybe it's that kind of story you tell maybe late at night when it's just the two of you, maybe you've had too much to drink, and you go, oh, well, you know what happened? That not when you're sitting there sober at a wedding, you go, you see that guy behind that was scaring the life out of you, who was talking to himself? Well, he
He's a
held a
killer.
gun. Yeah, he held a gun to the guy's head and said he's going to blow his brains out.
I mean, before we end the show, I gotta bring up two things about like how speaking of Luca Brasi, it got me thinking his death scene. I
Yeah.
love how that's done, but also when they get Tom and they're in that like diner and like the way that scene is lit and how it's so dark. That's one of my favorite scenes in the film as well.
Well, when Salazzo has Tom.
Yeah, and they're like in that like darkly
Yes.
lit set. Like I love
Yeah.
that set.
Yeah. Listen, one thing that about this movie wasn't in 4K, John, was that they talked about, what was the name of the cinematographer? Lewis.
Is it Gordon Willis?
Oh, Gordon Willis.
Yep.
I was going to say Lewis Gilbert, but he was a director, directed Bond movies. Anyway, but he did, yes. But they talked about how the dailies were coming back to Paramount. I remember, just as off memory here, I haven't watched any special features recently, but they were talking about the dailies coming back, and they were very concerned about how dark the film was. And they were like, "What the hell's how is Coppola late in this movie? This isn't right." And they were like, "No, this is all intentional." And I think at one stage they were going to fire them, and they're like, "No, they wants it to look like this." And on 4K the other night, I really noticed it, and I was going, Jesus, this is just like black and a face. I can't see anything else, and that's what they must have been thinking.
Yeah, and they want that very warm orange yellow lighting to it's a very warmly lit film too. Like it feels very intimate.
John, I think they were using a lot of time like natural light and things like that. Do you know what I mean? A lot of places have the big lights around. You know what I mean? And reflectors.
Yeah, you can see the light source in the scene. Like it's like the light in the corner of the room or something like that. And it's like it's not like how it's not big bright lights or anything like that.
Yeah, but the restoration was so great that you could see, like, I didn't know where the hell they were sitting with Tom Hagen, but it's so great even though it's dark. You can see even the driving scenes at night. When I find there's a big contrast at the start of this movie when there is a lot of darkness, and when they come through on the other side, it seems to be a bit brighter. When the war is over, the gang war is over, it's a wee bit brighter.
It is, but then still you got to end it with a little bit of darkness with Carlos' foot going through that freaking window.
Hello, Carlo.
Hello, Carlo.
Hello, Carlo.
Yeah, I mean it is great, and and we see Mike as well. We see that whole transition of Mike from the start of film to the end of film, and how short-tempered he's became, and just as you say, cold-hearted. And you see him for the first time lose his patience with Kay. Mm-hmm.
That's the Al Pacino. Like that's like we see him blow his top like that, but but then he lies to her. That's the whole thing. And like literally, we're closing the door on her. Like I'm leaving you out of my world, and that's the perfect setup for the second one.
Yeah, and I love how Al Neri, he's there for the ending part of the movie. He's the one that kind of like shuts the door. It just closes.
And it's like sad too because this is them leaving New York, and I think this is kind of a big difference between The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 because they go to Nevada. And this feels like a winter movie in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And it kind of warms up when we get out there. Like, there's really not. I don't think there's even a winter scene in that movie compared to like how this movie has it. There is in the middle because when they come back from the intermission, there's snow on the ground. So.
There is snow, yeah. And he goes and visits Frankie Five Angels. He's bought the house. He owns the house, and I think there's snow then as well. So there is, but this movie goes through all different types of seasons, John, as well. And you have the Sicily scenes, which is very hot as well. But to me, it always does feel more like a winter movie. There's a lot of those colder night scenes with big overcoats and fedora hats and scarves and things like that. Then you have that when the dawn gets shot, it's around this Christmas time as well. I think, when you go to the hospital, you see the Christmas lights and there's like a Santa outside and things like that. So, wouldn't necessarily call it a Christmas movie, but
no, it's going through, like you said, like you could we kind of place it in because it seems like most of the movie takes place around this kind of cold area, but you're right, they go through so many different times of the year. Like when he first sees Kay, and it's like that feels like a very autumn time of the year, like very because she's like, first of all, where does she just leaves the kids? By the way, I always forget about that. I'm like, Wasn't she supposed to be watching kids at this point?
Yeah, she's a school teacher. She's a school
Yeah.
teacher, and I just find it weird that this guy disappears out of her life for several years, and then just turns up one day and says, "Come with me," and she gets in the car with him. That's what I'm saying about. There's some weird choices in this, some weird kind of continuity issues, and then the whole end of the film. I know in real life things don't happen. Sometimes things don't happen just in the space of a week. It takes maybe months and years for things to develop. The next time you kind of see her and him, they've got like a 3-year-old kid.
Yeah, well, exactly. There's a bunch of big time jumps because he said that he's been back for about a year, like when he first
Yes.
sees Case. So like we see Apollonia die, and then we just assume that like he said he's got to find a way to get his son Michael back home. So it's probably a couple of years there. Then we know that like they're gonna get married, so they got married, and then they got like a 3-year-old son. But even like going from the scene where they killed Carlo to like them packing up and moving to Nevada, how much time passed between that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you hear Tom Hagen, as I say, saying it's almost 1946. So 1946. So that was Christmas 1946. Do you know what I mean? Mike was away up and back for a year, but so he must have been in Sicily for months, right? So say 1946, he comes back maybe 1947 towards 48. And then he goes back, and that's when he gets her, and then say they get married and have a kid in the street. So I kind of worked it in my head without thinking about it too much there. But I mean, is this like October 51? Oh, sorry. Is it by the end of the movie? Is it 1952?
Like that's what I think. It's the early 1950s at this point. Like a good amount of time has passed.
Because the second movie is definitely the 50s, and his son is making his Holy Communion, and you're around I think you're around 7 or 8 when you make your Holy Communion. So that would make, if his 3-year-old son, that's 5 years later. So that would make it like 57, 58. When was the Cuban Revolution? 59?
Yep. And it goes, and I don't think a lot of years pass in that one because then we have New Year's in Cuba.
Yeah, well, the Cuban Revolution, when was that?
Well, is it 59? Which would make
I was with this there. Was it 59?
So it's like right around that time because obviously that's a big turnoff for him is what's happening in the streets in the second one.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure it works out. I just was like, there's big lapses in time. There's big time jumps here,
Yeah, they used to trust their audiences a lot more. Like, because now, like, I was watching even like Dr. Sleep yesterday, and like they put a lot of time cards in front of everything to like let you know like time. It's like you don't always have to do that. Like sometimes it's kind of fun for us to like kind of try and piece together how much time's passed. Like it's there, you can figure it out. It's just like sometimes they want to like overstate themselves.
Yeah. Well, I actually when I bought, I think I'd explained this to you, when I bought them DVDs of Godfather 1, 2, and 3, because they were exclusives, the original came with like a Corleone family tree poster, and it's like got all their family members and when they were born and when they died. So that might explain certain dates, because you'll be able to see when Sonny died and Vito died. And
that's good, yeah.
So you'll know the year if it's accurate, you'll know the years.
Yeah, that's perfect. You got to go look into that. Do some research.
yeah. For the next podcast, for the part 2 podcast.
Yep. But I actually think that this is kind of what we wanted to do here, right, on this new show right now. What did you think of it?
Yeah, well, I think
anything else you want to talk about, or do you think like we covered everything we wanted to do?
When we do this kind of format, John, I don't think we'll ever cover everything. You know what I mean? But I'm quite happy with it. We don't want it to go on too long. We're planning for this podcast to go about 45 minutes an hour, and we don't mind going a bit longer in this because it's like our opening episode, and it's for an epic movie like The Godfather. I mean, I don't have too much more to say really, other than it is an epic movie, and it is for me one of the best movies of all time. And it's definitely a movie that I'll always go back and revisit. What about yourself? Have you got anything else you want to say, John?
Well, I pretty much echo that same thing. And, always the question pops up. And I think kind of, the thing is like The Sopranos is probably the ultimate telling of a mafia family. But I guess in cinematic history, I'd probably put The Godfather like only behind Goodfellas. Mm-hmm. But they're still one of the greatest mob films of all time. And for me, it's the best film in the Godfather trilogy. And it's one that I try and go. I probably rewatch this one every year, but I might not rewatch 2 every year. So I think that kind of says something about the rewatchability of this movie as well.
Well, the funny thing is that as soon as I finish 1, I want to watch 2.
Really?
Oh, 100%. And I've been holding off watching 2 because I wanted to just do this and just think about the first movie because it's been a few years since I've watched them. I don't think I've watched them for about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, really?
Maybe a wee bit longer. I know, listen, I've been in this house 4.5 years now, and I don't think I've watched them since I've moved in here.
Oh, wow, it's been a while. Yeah, I watched the
So it
first
has
one
been.
usually every year in January or February. Oh, but like I'll go a while without watching the second one. The third one, I'm not a huge fan, so I'll probably watch it the next time when we talk about it on one of these shows.
But the third one, sorry, did you say?
Yeah.
Third. Yeah, it's really funny. By the time I finish the second one, I want to watch the third one. And look, we could maybe talk about that sometime. But I know it's nowhere near as good as the first 2, but I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. And it's funny. It came out the same year as Goodfellas, so that probably overshadowed it as well. And also knowing that like Francis Ford Coppola needed money, he didn't want to do a third one, kind of hurts it. And no Tom Hagen, like you write him out.
Yeah.
That always bothers me.
Well, the problem of that was that the studio wanted a trilogy, and Francis Ford Coppola says no, there's no third movie. This is an epilogue, and they went nope, it has to be Godfather Part 3. He originally wanted to call it The Death of Michael Corleone.
Yep. And that's what he gets to call his director's cut, which I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have got it. Yeah, I just no point in it. Just watch the original.
Yeah. I don't. There's some big differences, but I still I don't know. I go back and forth. I'd have to rewatch them again, but like I said, I'm not a huge fan of 3 anyway. So
yeah, no, I just think there was important things that he left out of it. There was not an added to it. He just he jiggled things around and left important stuff out, and I just didn't like it.
Yeah, he re-edited it because he didn't want to have his daughter in it as much too, because he knew that was like a real big handicap.
Well, all I will say is that just so it don't forget before we finish up is that I believe that The Godfather is the best gangster film ever made. For me,
Yeah, I completely respect that.
Yeah, respect.
Just a little bit of respect.
And the thing is that I know that a lot of people think highly of Goodfellas. Goodfellas is a phenomenal movie, but in a lot of ways, I like Casino more.
Listen, I always go back and forth with Casino and Goodfellas. I don't know. And then I kind of like after going through the whole process, I'm at the end of it and I go, I think Casino wouldn't exist without Goodfellas, so I'll give the edge to Goodfellas.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like Goodfellas, but I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy films like Scarface. I love Carlito's Way.
So yeah,
if we're talking like American gangster movies, like because obviously one of my favorites is The Long Good Friday.
That's one of the best too. I count that.
Yeah, I mean gangster movies.
Which I have to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I just picked up a Get Carter on 4K Blu-ray, which is a movie I've never seen, starring Michael Caine, which is a gangster film. So I'm gonna check that out.
Oh, right. I watched that for the first time last year.
What'd you think?
It's okay.
It's
a bit dated.
I watched the first 20 minutes. I told you this. I started it and then I fell asleep. And I was watching. I'm like, yeah, this feels a little old.
It's based in Newcastle, isn't it? Upon Tyne,
yeah,
of England. Yeah, it's a bit dated. I enjoyed it, but a lot of people hold it up in high regard and high status. And when it came out, people were like getting excited about the 4K, and I just watched it. I was on TV one night and I recorded it and watched it and went, it's okay.
It's of the time.
It's of the time. I mean, for me, it's no Long Good Friday. Like that's I was thinking. It's no Bob Hoskins, but I just got I got the Godfather 1 and 2 in 4K last year, and I just watched the first one in 4K. So I need to watch part 2 in 4K in the 4K now.
Okay. Well, I think you'll actually I think you'll really enjoy it. It's a long one. That one's still longer than this one, which is 3 hours.
Yeah, sometimes I have to take a break. When it gets to intermission, I'm like,
there is an intermission.
I watch the rest tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's why they gave it to you, because the first one doesn't have it, but they give it to you in the second one.
Yeah, well, the first one doesn't have it, but I also always feel as if when Meg kills in the police commissioner and Salazzo, that's where you could go, right?
Yep.
Come back this tomorrow.
It always does feel like that's the halfway point, and where an intermission would be built in. It kind of does feel like it's built into the script. It's funny.
The music, how dramatic it is.
Yeah, we start seeing newspaper headlines, and it's like, okay, this is a good place.
Yeah, I don't love how they go to the mattresses,
Yeah.
You talk about brand new mattresses.
But anyway, I think that's a great first episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I don't know if we're going to do it like how we do our regular show. Do you want to tell the people what we're going to do next month, or leave it up to a mystery?
No, I'm quite happy to tell the folks what we're going to do. Or it's up to you. What do you think?
Leave
it a mystery, or
no? I think, you know what? If you think it's good to tell them, I think it's good to tell them too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, our next episode on Axis is going to be about the Friday the 13th franchise.
Yep. you guys will actually see it on Friday the 13th. That's our plan. So you can actually have a Friday the 13th episode talking about the entire franchise. And we hope you guys enjoyed this. You know, we're ironing out the kinks still, so it's going to be on the fly. And hopefully you guys give us some feedback. We love feedback. We don't get enough of it. Like, let us know what you like, what you don't like, things we can improve on. We always really appreciate that. So. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. We hope you guys enjoyed the show again, and we'll be seeing you around.